I like Spider-Man 2 a lot more than Spider-Man 1. In fact, it's my all-time favorite Spider-Man movie and one of my favorite superhero movies. It feels more like a movie compared to Spider-Man 1, which was great for me. I continue to like the characters I liked in the previous movie, some even more. I like Aunt May and Harry more in this movie than in the first movie. In this movie, we finally see Aunt May struggle with Uncle Ben's death, which was something we didn't see much in the first movie. The scene where Peter reveals that he's responsible for Uncle Ben's death was a strong and sad one, which makes the moment where Aunt May forgives Peter a heartwarming. I also like that speech she gave to Peter about everyone having a hero. Harry, what can I say about him? Spoiler alert, let's just say his father's death consumed him. Harry was determined to find Spider-Man and killing him more when he lost his chance of success with Octavius Project. That really changed his relationship with Peter, not just because Peter is Spider-Man and he has to keep that from Harry, but also because Peter takes pictures of Spider-Man, which puts in question his loyalty to Harry. I also like his moments when he's not thinking about Spider-Man. He was charming, so Harry was really interesting to see. The villain of this movie was great. I really liked the chemistry between Octavius and Peter. Octavius is a really cool guy with an obsession with his fusion project. I bought his motivation for being a bad guy. If you're someone who lost your wife and your lab, it's not unlikely you'll give your all to a fusion project you've been obsessed with for a long time. Not to mention the tentacles might be messing with his mind. Dr. Octopus is a great villain. His tentacles are awesome, he's witty, and has some neat super villainy methods.
Lord Tritium, are you crazy? You'll destroy the city! You're a hack! Hey! Stop! Stop! Alright! Alright! Wait down! We'll make a deal!
The action in this movie is far better than Spider-Man 1. You can still see it's all computers, but it's still so cool to watch. The train fighting scene was exhilarating. We had already watched the scene where Dr. Octopus and Spider-Man fought. The train scene only entertained us even more. By the way, has anyone noticed that the score played every time Octavius was in action kind of resembles the one played in Love is Evil spelled backwards from Billy and Mandy? Just a little. For a movie that was made in 2004, the action holds up pretty nice. I like the comedy. I like J. Jonah Jameson in this movie. He was more involved here than in Spider-Man 1, which was cool. The more J. Jonah Jameson, the better. That's the thing about this movie. It was capable of making the best out of the strong aspects. But like every movie, it has weak points. Let me talk about the least damaging weak point. Peter losing his powers. I have mixed feelings towards this. I don't buy how Peter suddenly lost his powers because of self-identity issues. One thing is doing his job improperly, but losing his powers does not make sense. What Peter was dealing with should have only affected his efficiency, not his gene. He wasn't even able to see without glasses. However, it did lead to some of the strongest moments in Spider-Man 2, so I'm not completely against this event. Now my least favorite aspect of Spider-Man 2. Mary Jane Watson. I hate MJ in Spider-Man 2. She was such a douche to Peter. I smiled when Dr. Octopus pushed her in the last few moments of the movie, and not just because it was funny. I really didn't like when MJ criticized Peter for not attending her play. She called him an empty seat and was just downright mean to him. I mean, was it really that tragic that he missed her play? But even worse is that Peter only missed the play because he came late. MJ, there are various reasons for why he would come late. What if he got stuck in traffic? What if he had an accident, which technically he did? What if he had to attend an important unforeseen family matter? You have no idea why Peter came late. You don't even seem interested in knowing. You're just assuming he came late because he didn't care. If I were Peter, I wouldn't even bother seeing her again, but he's crazy about her and he attended her next play. After that play, Peter started hitting on her. What? You know what? I'll get to that later. MJ pushes him away, reasonable, but then the next time we saw her, we learned she wasn't inviting Peter to her wedding and she called him a big jerk. I like how MJ had a crappy dad, crappy boss, dated a bully, was embarrassed by Norman, followed by being embarrassed by Hillary, and yet she names Peter a big jerk. You, out of all people, should know what big jerks really are, you big jerk. Now let's talk about Peter. Now, he was actually fine in this movie, it's just that he made some really stupid decisions. Stupid moment number 1. After Octavius advised Peter to feed a girl with poetry if he wants her to fall in love with him, he starts reading some poems. Peter, have you forgotten that you can't date Mary Jane because you'll put your life in danger? Why are you reading poems? Stupid moment number 2. After Peter lost his powers, gave up his heroic duties, and attended MJ's concert, he started hitting on her immediately after they left the concert and after they met for the first time since Mary Jane's outburst. First of all, slow down. Secondly, have you forgotten that she's engaged? Thirdly, have you forgotten who she's engaged with? She's engaged with J. Jonah Jameson's son. J. Jonah Jameson is your boss, Peter. Do you have any idea what will happen if you steal Mary Jane from Jonah's son and Jonah finds out? You getting fired is probably the best outcome. Oh, and don't say he's following his heart and that it's romantic. Peter is broke. Aunt May is broke. Dating MJ will only put his financial situation in jeopardy. Like, what's the point of it being romantic if it's just going to ruin his life? Stupid moment number 3, and probably the dumbest moment. After Peter listened to the speech Aunt May gave about heroism, Peter decides to just believe that he should be Spider-Man in an attempt at recovering his powers, and then he tries to jump from one building to the other in the hopes of triggering his powers. Are you nuts? Why didn't you just spin a web or crawl a wall? Why did you pick the most dangerous attempt at triggering your powers? I wonder what would happen if he actually did die. Aunt May would be like, oh my god, what happened to him? And someone would respond saying he tried to jump from one building to the other like a madman. Dumb teenagers. Peter may have acted stupidly in the first movie, but I understood him. I understand why he went to the wrestling match. I will never understand why Peter tried to jump off a building. Oh, and Peter carried on that stupidity in the next movie. Maybe a little less, but still idiotic. Now let's talk about the blandness of Jonah's son and Mary Jane's fiance. What's his role exactly? More importantly, what's his personality exactly? What are his goals in life? What are his motivations? Who is this guy? What's even worse is what they did to him at the end. Mary Jane, being the asshole she is, breaks off with him by running away from the wedding, leaving him abandoned, betrayed, and sad. Where's the fairness? This guy did absolutely nothing wrong in this movie. He even supported Peter in one scene. So Mary Jane, the one person who's been acting like a douche the entire movie, gets saved by Spider-Man and gets to abandon the wedding to get together with Peter, and the one person who did nothing wrong and actually supported Peter gets to be abandoned. The karma in this movie is retarded. But other than those things I mentioned, there's not much about this movie that bothers me. Like I said, it's my favorite Spider-Man movie. Now let's jump to my least favorite Spider-Man movie.
I want to tell you the truth. Here it is.
I love you.